Hi, joining us. I hope he can figure out how to do this. And basically, he started out before this whole crazy period with 80,000 followers on Instagram. And now, how many followers does he have, you guys? He has well over 1 million. Let me see.
4.3.
4.3 million to be exact. And my background, hi everybody. Anyway, he's going to join us for an Instagram Live. He is a hoot. He comes from Chattanooga, Tennessee. You guys might recognize him. He used to be in Will and Grace. He had a big role in Will and Grace. Well, and he's become such a huge star on Instagram. It's snowing here, by the way. How crazy is that? I'm on Long Island, and it's now snowing. Anyway, hopefully he'll figure out how to do this. But do you guys know who I'm talking about? Do you guys want to guess? Anybody want to guess who's coming to join me? He is, let's see, I'll give you some hints. He is 4'11". As I mentioned, he's from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He is super funny. He has become the king of quarantine. And anybody guess? Yeah, you guys, that's right, Leslie Jordan. So fingers crossed, you guys, that he can figure out how to join me for this Instagram Live, because he's become quite the Instagram poster. He was put in jail once, and he shared his cell, or gave his cell to Robert Downey Jr. It was fun doing research for this one.
What does that mean?
I learned all kinds of things. What do you mean?
Can you explain?
The jail? I'm going to get him to explain. Okay. Carrie, my daughter, wanted to understand that. Anyway, he says he's responsible for Robert Downey Jr.'s success because of their time in the... And my friend Dana, who is my friend / hairdresser, said, why don't you do an Instagram Live with Leslie? So I said, okay. So I DM'd him, and he was so sweet. And he said, sure, I'd be happy to. And he was very, very funny. And now we're going to see it. And he asked us to reach out to his manager, right? So he would be sure to know how to do this. So maybe we should DM him and make sure he... Oh, we did? Mm-hmm. Okay. So hopefully, you guys, he'll be able to join us. Meanwhile... Oh, he loved... What did he say he was going to change the song about? Oh, When You Swish Upon a Star. He said he was going to change the Disney song to that. Gosh, my eyes are getting so bad. I can't really read without my glasses, so let me see. Here, is this him here? No?
Yeah. Yes.
Wait.
You just didn't scroll down.
Oh, there he is.
He just joined, guys.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
There I am.
Yay! Hey!
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
The connection in my house. I had to run into the other room.
Don't
Let's go
worry.
sideways.
How are you, Leslie?
Is that better to do sideways?
No, go back the other way. You were good at first. That's perfect. How you doing?
Well, I'm the most popular person on the internet.
You are.
At
My friend.
65 years of age.
How
on earth did this happen?
It is so funny because I was just saying to everybody who was watching that you had 80,000 followers, Leslie, when this thing started. And now you have 4.3 million.
Who are these people?
Well, they love you. And you must be thinking about this. What do you think it is about the way you're communicating with folks these days?
I've thought so much about it. I think it's because, first of all, I'm funny. I know that. I've known that. I learned that, in to keep the bullies at bay. You know, when
Yeah.
I was a kid, that was the best way. When they're hollering, "Smear the queer," and try to hit me with the dodgeball. But I made that up.
Oh, okay, good. Good. Well, I bet growing up in Chattanooga, you did. I guess a lot of people probably did give you a bit of a hard time.
You know, it's funny because I have said on many occasions that it did happen, but you know, I was always, and you had this, there's always that guy in school who you know is just gay as Christmas, and all the girls love him. You know, I was so popular, and the guys kind of had to put up with me, you know, because I had all the girls, you know, eating out of my hands. But, you know, as far as anything really happened.
About, I think your dad taking you to your first football game, and he said, "Here's the offense, here's the defense," and you said, "When do the majorettes come out?"
Because my mother was a majorette in high school, and I was obsessed with that. And there were pictures of her, you know, with her baton, and I would get it out and play with it and twirl it. You don't know when you're a kid, you know. I think my mother sort of knew, and my grandmother kind of circled the wagons and thought this little boy's going to need some help and no one's going to get near him. And I was, you know, I could do whatever I wanted. If I wanted to sew, my grandmother taught me to sew.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But you know what it did? It gives you a sense, but you also know kind of like, let's don't show daddy this, you know, let's, you know, let's don't show, because, you know, my dad was in the Army. My dad was like a career Army man. And, his plane went down when I was 11, which is a terrible time to lose, for a boy to lose his dad. But, you know, there was a lot of, over the years, wondering, was I a disappointment some way? And I even mentioned it to my mom once as an adult, and she was flabbergasted. She was like, whatever, your daddy adored you. And there's a story she told me that I think is so sweet. She said that when I was about 3, I wanted a bride doll for Christmas. Where they got it, they don't know.
Yeah.
And I wanted a bride doll, and my dad was like, you know, this is 1958.
Yeah.
But he got me. My mother said Christmas Eve he went out and he found the most beautiful bride doll. And mother said I was so excited on Christmas morning when I saw it, I peed in the floor.
Well, you need to share that, Leslie, with your I don't know if you've shared that with your followers yet, but so you have twin sisters. Your sisters are twins.
They're
twins. And are they older or younger than you?
My sisters are 22 months younger than me. So we sort of grew up almost like triplets, you know, the 3 of us. But they're really close. I think that's why I noticed when everybody started hunkering down like this, I thought, you know what, this is not hard for me. I spend a lot of time. And maybe that's because when I was younger, it was always them playing. And I just had my own little thing going. So
you were, obviously you haven't been, I know generally before this, you were traveling back and forth to visit them, right?
I happened to be there right when kind of the hunker down period started. And I thought, you know what, I'll stay here. But it's 3 old ladies, like 7 cats, some feral, some in, some out, some here, some there. So I got me a place nearby. You know, you just don't want to move back in at 65 with your mom and your sisters. So and it was wonderful for me because I could hunker down. And then when I really got crazy, I would go over to see my mom and sisters. And so.
But you've been hunkered down in LA now, all by yourself?
Yeah, all by myself.
Are you going crazy a little bit? I feel like you're using Instagram for company, right?
I'm using Instagram for company, but there's even times when I just turn that off. You know, mailbox and there's presents. You know, people can find out your address. It's kind of frightening. I've gotten, you wouldn't believe what all I've gotten.
Tell us some of the things you've gotten.
I got a prism. This beautiful prism.
A prism?
I've gotten a collection of Foxfire books, which I used to read when I was a kid. Oh, every day something, you know. But
That's so cute.
I looked, what I've really been involved in, I would look on the internet, and there were people selling things with my sayings, like masks and T-shirts. There were 25 T-shirts alone on, I got to grab something real fast.
Okay.
Because I want to show you.
Okay, show me.
So
wait. Yeah, go ahead. Because so you have your own T-shirt now.
Yes, but it's not, I mean, I won't make the money. I've decided I'm going to give it to charity. And so, look, can you see?
I do. I love it. I love it.
So I've been very busy with my T-shirt line.
So you're selling those. What charity are you going to give them to?
I've got a whole list. Top of the list is my pet charity, which is Glisten, Glesen, which helps. It was an idea that teachers had in the early 90s. How best can we help these LGBTQ, LMNOP, all these kids? How best can we also come out with a line of T-shirts that I'm helping them launch that will have, you know, this stuff on it. So, you know, you got to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, I think it's just amazing that you, as I said, 4.3 million people, they look forward to your posts. There's something, just as I was saying when we were waiting for you, Leslie, just comforting and funny. And everyone here loves hearing your stories about growing up.
And they can't be too off colors. I get fussed at. You know,
really?
If I get too off color, which is always fun to be a little naughty, you know, here and there. Woo, I agree. I get it. Oh, do I get it? You were raised like that.
Wait, my daughter has a question. What? Oh, are you dating anybody? My daughter wants to know.
No, I keep that part just quiet.
Yeah,
but,
so
you know, that's a big no, really. Oh, I don't talk about that, you know.
But they're you lining up. But
Leslie,
you and Dylan McDermott have a little thing going.
We have, you know, it's funny. We did American Horror Story together, and we only had one scene. But I just sat there. Leslie Grossman was in the scene, and there were just three of us. And Leslie would sit there, and I would just sit there trying to be cute and trying to get their attention. I don't know what. I was so taken with him. And so we kept up on internet and started this funny thing. And now Ryan Murphy made an announcement. He's going to write something.
I know, that's so awesome. So he's going to write something for the two of you, because you started a fan club. Didn't you start a Dylan McDermott fan club for middle-aged gay men?
Well, I'm the founder and the guiding light. It's the Dylan McDermott fan club for middle-aged gay men. And of course, I was the only member for a while. It's funny because people are coming out of the woodworks, and I'm thinking, well, maybe you could join, maybe not. You know, it's like the mean girl in high school.
Well, so you got this. So you got your T-shirts you're selling. By the way, if people want to buy the T-shirts and support you, how do they do that, Leslie?
They go to it's at the Leslie Jordan.
At the Leslie Jordan.
There's a clothing designer. I think she does ski wear out of Vermont or Maine or something. She has Leslie Jordan, at Leslie Jordan. No hard feelings, honey. Anyway. So
what do you do?
But Leslie, T-H-E.
Okay. I want to know what you're doing can you believe it? I live in New York and it is snowing right now.
No way.
Isn't that crazy?
It's
snowing.
I'm in Los Angeles, and it's been a different kind of heat. It's been really muggy, awful muggy. But you know, when I get crazy, I just go for a drive. What do you do? I mean, I just literally get in the car and go for a drive. I also have started at 65 years of age taking horseback riding lessons.
Really?
I exercised racehorses when I was a teenager, young man. And so I can ride anything, but the only way you can actually ride is to take the lesson. So they leave me alone. But
Oh,
I'll go over there and,
so you've been doing that during quarantine a little?
yeah, well, they're not allowed to actually, it's considered, it's not a non-essential business. You can't. So what I do is I go over there and just hang with the horses. It's just an empty barn. I mean, they have to eat every day and they do exercise them. But for some reason, I draw so much comfort. I just go over there with peppermints and feed the horses.
Are you able to see some of your friends, like take socially distant walks or have,
No, I haven't
have
done
some
a
sweet
lot of
tea
that.
with them?
I haven't done a lot of that. I'm pretty okay. I've only actually been back about a week.
Yeah.
So maybe all that's coming. I hope we can do all that. I did with one of my best friends. We got in the car, put our masks on, and drove to Malibu. And then looked at the ocean and thought, well, so here we are. And then we drove home.
Very exciting. Well, I told people who follow me, Leslie, that we were going to be chatting. So I want to get to some of their questions real quick. Who's the most interesting celebrity you've met? Somebody said tell the Lady Gaga story, but I also think it might be Robert Downey Jr. under the circumstances, right?
Well, Robert and I didn't really talk. Here, I've embellished that story too. Here is the actual real story.
Okay.
In 1997, had several driving under the influences where I'm really, really ashamed of, because, you cannot do that. But, oh, what a roll I was on. I got 3 in a row, and I was sentenced to 120 days in the Los Angeles County Jail. And they handcuffed me, and I put me on this little bench, and I just sat there. My feet didn't even reach the ground. And I was just kind of sitting there, and the cops, everybody had said to me, the minute you get down there, ask for the homo tank, because you're not going to make it on the main line. There's actually an area where they put people like you. And I said, the homo tank. So so that's the way things are ending up. But anyway, to make a long story short, I was waiting on to tell them that I needed to go to the homo tank. And I hollered, hey, to these policemen, and they turned around and burst out laughing. I don't know, it must have been just me sitting on that bench with my feet not even reaching the ground. But they were very swift. One of them kept calling me Little Bo Peeps. Jail is like the playground. It really is.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's like the playground with the teasing and the bullying.
Right, I was going to say,
so,
not the
fun
part of the playground.
I was not having it. So I said, I need to go to the homo tank. Thank you. And he came over and said, it's pretty rough in there. And I said, in the homo tank? He says, well, it's pretty rough anywhere, but we want to put you in this special place called the softy tank for the softies.
Aw, yeah.
And it doesn't have to do with your sexuality. It's just people that are, that just don't. So anyway, I'm in the softy tank for 12 days of my unfortunate incarceration. And I decided I'd had enough. I think I had a panic attack in retrospect, but I went up to the turnkey and I told him, I said, listen, I need to take a walk, if you don't mind. I promise I'll come back. And he goes, no, you can't take a walk. Well, he came over later on. He said, listen, we've got Robert Downey Jr. downstairs and we don't have anywhere to put him. And so they brought him up. Well, he wasn't real chatty. There was all of us sitting there, and I'm thinking, but then 4 years later, I'm on Ally McBeal, and there he was.
And did you say, I know you?
Well, he said to me in front of everybody, like Callista Flockhart and Jane Krakowski and Lucy Liu, all the people at the show, he goes, do I know you? And I went like this. I said, zip it. Zip it. He goes, what? I said, zip it. So he came over later. He goes, where do I know you from? I said, 152, Pod A, Cell 13. You were on the top bunk. He goes, oh my God, you wrote me that letter. And I had written him a letter. There was a kid that was being teased because he was HIV positive, and all the other, because we were in that kind of softy area. That's, I guess, where they put people who were HIV positive. So nobody would eat with him. And I sat down with him. And he said, you don't have to do this. Well, that next day I got out, so I wrote a letter so involved to Robert Downey Jr. asking him to please look after that kid.
Oh, that's so nice.
He said to me, he said, you wrote me that letter. And I said, oh my God, because I was the only one privy to your current address. And I was worried about that boy. And he said, well, they moved him before I actually got in. They moved him the same day. But he said, I carried that letter my entire incarceration, and I want to thank you. So,
well, and you have been sober for quite a while now, Leslie, because that was a tough period of your life, I know. But then you got sober how many years ago?
22.
22 years ago.
22 years.
Well, congratulations.
Long
for
time
that.
between cocktails.
You kill me. Somebody wanted
22 years. I said no.
Someone said if you weren't a comedian and actor, what else would you be doing?
Probably something with horses.
Yeah,
you could have
been a jockey maybe. You're 4'11", right?
Listen, I lived out at Belmont Park on Long Island. I lived there in the park in Elmont, Long Island. And I exercised racehorses from the time I was mid-20s. I did it, and then we would ship to Hialeah, which is no longer even there.
I remember Hialeah. Yeah,
it was so beautiful. So I did that for years. I didn't act. I never even thought about it. And when all that was over,
did you seriously consider becoming a jockey?
Absolutely. I rode.
And what happened?
Day. I was too fat.
Really?
It's about weight. It has nothing to do with height. They're handicappers, and their ideal is to have all the horses cross the finish line nose to nose. So they will assign weight for sex and, what the sex of the horse. 109 pounds is a good weight for a jockey. And I was a solid, 120. I tried. Oh, gosh, I tried. I couldn't, So I was just a really good exercise rider. I'd go out in the mornings.
And so how'd you get into acting?
I quit. I decided I was 27 years old and I was living so nomadic all over the place. I went back home and I enrolled at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And someone said to me, take that intro to theater. That'll get your arts elective out of the way. And I was no spring chicken. So I walked into this intro to theater class. And like I said, I'd always been funny. It just hit me. I went to the head of the department. I said, what do I do? This is it. He said, well, first of all, I want you to learn to pronounce theater. Because I'd said theater. I want to be in the theater. He said, it's theater. I said, okay. I want to pronounce it. Please just let me do it.
So he said, you can do this, and you started acting?
And I started, and I got a degree. And then in 1982, I got on a bus bound for Hollywood. I thought if I'm going to starve, I'll starve with a tan. And I had $1,200, which was a fortune, that my mother pinned into my underpants. And I got on a bus with my degree in theater. And I went to Hollywood. And I never looked back. I didn't know a soul.
That must have been so scary. Did it take you a while to get some to make a living?
I didn't make a living. It took me a while. So I was everything. I was the host at the old Hamburger Hamlet, the big chain of hamburger restaurant. But my first job was, maybe it was not 82, maybe it was 87. I can't remember. Clara Peller was an actress from Chicago, and where's the beef?
I remember her from the Wendy's commercial.
Well, Joe Settlemeyer, who directed that, never directed me, but it was a whole genre of commercials that came in, and I was perfect. I was the PIP printing guy. I was the elevator operator to Hamburger Hell for Taco Bell, where you went. I would just have this deadpan look, and they would tell me, don't act. I said, okay. Don't act, just say this. I said, okay. And I just, people were just enthralled. So right off the bat, I did commercials.
And then obviously you got other parts in shows. Much later, the Will and Grace opportunity came up, right?
Right. And that changed everything. That changed the whole game. Because all of a sudden, I was more than the funny guy who comes in with a zinger, even though I came in with the zingers. But Max Muchnick. They say I just butcher their names. Max Muchnick and David Cohn. I don't know how I can butcher that. But they always say, you go on interviews and butcher our names. But anyway, they wrote, well. I thought I spelled gin and regret. And that's just like something out of Tennessee Williams. So
It is.
I couldn't get down the street. People would holler that at me and everything.
So that really changed and opened up so many doors for you.
It did. That I have to do that. And then I had done this movie 100 million years ago with Olivia Newton-John called Sordid Lives.
Right.
And
I read about that.
I played.
And you found Instagram fame.
I mean, I've had people yell lines from that movie walking down the streets of London. I mean, you're like, what? What did you just say? They go, oh, loved it.
So you've got a show coming up, Leslie, on Fox. Tell me, Mayim Bialik.
Mayim, and we met. What's fun is that it's Mayim Bialik, Swoosie Kurtz.
Oh, I love her. She's such an incredible actress. She's such a big Broadway actress.
And they're a mother-daughter duo, and Swoosie's fancy. Takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. And Swoosie goes to the races in hats. And then she's got this daughter that's 38 and not married, and she tells her, you've got to marry. And so Swoosie, to spite Swoosie, Mayim buys a cat cafe, and I wrangle the kitties. That's my job.
So are you excited? I mean, have you shot any of the
We
show
haven't.
yet?
The day we were supposed to start, we got the memo that said, listen, everybody's going to have to stay in. And the cool part is that we have not shot one frame. And the four of us, which is Swoosie, Mayim, Cheyenne Jackson, someone else from the stage, and Kyla Pratt, a little Disney darling with a big singing voice. We have begun a love fest, just 4 or 5 of us. We just we're back and forth, and we've never even started the show. Forget the show. We're having so much fun.
I hope you can start shooting it soon. And I think it's so awesome that Ryan Murphy, who is, he must be one of the most successful producers around, that he tell me about the show he wants to do with you and Dylan McDermott. Is that true?
No, we don't. I mean, as I said to Dylan, I wrote Dylan, I said, what do you, because Ryan has written for me all the way back from 3rd season. I started on American Horror Story. And let me tell you, he's got 18 shows on TV. 18, I think. And so he wouldn't say it if he didn't mean it. And of course, then I think, well, but I'm over at Fox, like under contract. You know what I mean? It could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be anything. So who knows? I mean, who knows? It's wonderful when you're at this point in my life, especially. I've done everything I got off that bus to do. I've done TV, I've done film, I've done Broadway. Actually, I did not do Broadway. I did off Broadway, and they pulled the plug the day we moved to Broadway. But that's a whole other long story. But and so everything from here on out's gravy.
It's so exciting. I'm
I'm
so
just sitting here
excited
like,
for you.
buffing my fingernails. Well, Ryan, I don't know,
I'm very busy. I'm very busy posting for Instagram. Ryan. So I wanted to ask you, so what have you been doing to pass the time? I know you've been watching yoga videos. I know you've been doing all kinds of things, but, have you been watching anything good on television? Have you been,
the only thing I watch on TV, I do quite a bit of cooking. And you know what? Cooking for one can be fun. I never thought about it that way. If you plan it out, you go to the store, Tonight we're having a roasted beef. I did cheat and bought mashed potatoes from a little pouch, but I could make good mashed potatoes. But, I do a lot of cooking, and I also watch. I have this rigid, like I get up in the morning, I make myself take a shower and put my shoes on. And then I'm like, okay. And then I read the papers. That's one thing I do, go out and get all the papers. I read 4 papers a day. And then, then it's 10. And then I don't put my pajamas on until 8 o'clock, which is so hard. About 6 o'clock, I'm like, okay. But I won't let myself. I'll sit there with my shoes on, all by myself in my apartment, and watch Forensic Files, which is I've loved it since I read Agatha Christie novels as a kid. I love murder. I don't know what I mean. I don't watch the murder, but it's the why people do what they do. You know, I'm just fascinated. I'm way ahead of them. I've even done a lot of Instagram posts about it because I know.
Really?
Honey, you did it. We know you did it. You can
Wait,
sit there.
what it's called? What, I don't know this show. Should I?
Forensic Files started it, and that is where they show, and then it morphed into another show I watched called 48 Hours.
Oh, of course.
No, 40, not that 48 Hours. This is another one called 48 something, where if a murder's going to be solved, it will be solved within the first 48 hours. So they take each hour and they'll show the murder and everything. And then they show you everybody they're looking at. And I know every time who did it.
And what are you watching? Are you doing it? Are you watching are you streaming any shows or watching anything on Netflix or anything?
I don't watch scripted television, and I don't watch movies. People said, Leslie, the last movie I saw was Brokeback Mountain. That was a good movie. My friends tell me, Leslie, you miss so much. I said, I can't watch it, but for several reasons. I see the process of it because I've worked in the industry for so long. I see the shot. I see this. I see that. And I think, oh my gosh, they should have, had blah, blah, blah. And I just don't.
So you're too critical and you kind of.
too busy. I'm very busy. I don't know what I do. I think
so have you ever considered doing a Will and Grace spinoff show? Somebody wanted me to ask you.
Well, I said all they'd have to do is ask. Of course, I'd jump on board. They're the best writers.
They are.
They're so much fun. Absolutely, I'll do spinoff. But I'm very busy right now. I'm over at Fox and Ryan Murphy's right.
Yeah, you're very busy. All right. What is your favorite kind of Southern food?
My favorite food is probably, and I don't know how Southern it is, it's just old-fashioned beef stew. My mom, who I hit tomorrow's Mother's Day, or I don't know when this will air, but I hit the jackpot. I mean, my mother's the baby of 9.
Wow.
9 or 7, and because of that, there's something so, I don't know what it is about the baby of the family. My daddy was the baby of his family. They're just, when the babies had a baby, it was like, and there's something about my mom my favorite Southern food is anything she cooks, but she makes the best beef stew.
That's not particularly Southern though, is it, Leslie? No. Right?
No, but we also, I'll tell you what she does do that I love. When I was a kid, we'd go to the farmer's market and you cook pinto beans with a big ham, like a ham hock or something in those beans. You crumble a homemade cornbread. No sugar in the cornbread. And then you put the beans and a slice of onion, a slice of tomato, and cantaloupe.
Cantaloupe? Come on, really?
That's just in the summertime, because you get all that from the farmer's market. Oh. That's what you don't eat it with the beans. But
yeah. Oh, okay. You just put the cantaloupe on the side.
Yeah, that's your dessert, I guess.
So, and so if you've been cooking, you're making a roast beef for one tonight, right?
For one.
And I think I saw you eating fried chicken too.
I eat a lot of fried chicken, but I don't fry chicken myself. Fried chicken is hard. It's all.
Where do you get your fried chicken?
I get my fried chicken from the farmer's market right down here. There's a place called Fritzy's that is the best fried chicken I've ever had. And they're closed during all this. So Fritzy's fried chicken. But the best fried chicken is my mother's.
Yeah.
Ever. And it's so funny because you'll ask her, well, she goes, I don't know, little, salt, pepper, flour. I go, but I think you just
put it in a paper bag and shake it up, and then you just put it in super hot oil. I love fried chicken too. Someone said you've named your 5 favorite straight boys. Who are your 5 favorite straight girls?
Oh, Katie Couric.
Oh, come on, Leslie.
Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda. And who's the third one of that? That's the three, Lily, for the 9 to 5 girls.
Yeah.
And who else is my favorite? I really glommed onto Stephanie, Lady Gaga. I really and truly, the story's a little off color, but she's a little off color. But you know what? I can tell within 10 minutes of meeting you how you were raised. Just please think she's beautifully brought up. She's a nice girl. She's crazy.
So tell us the Lady Gaga story.
It's off color though.
Well, can you clean it up a little bit?
Okay. We had a scene where she was supposed to jump out from behind a tree with fairy dust and blow it in my face.
And wait, what was this in?
It was called American Horror Story.
Oh, yes,
and
of
it
course.
was the My Roanoke Nightmare. And because I'm the funny guy that comes in with a zinger, this is the way I read a script. Oh, my line. My line. So I never know what's going on. But this one I could not figure out. I kept saying, why is she dressed like a pilgrim? They said, just don't worry. I said, but I'm in modern day. Why is she dressed like a pilgrim? So they brought her from behind the tree. And she said to me, may I talk to you a minute? And we had worked together a few days, but she took me out in the woods and she said, when I act, I always end up sexualizing my characters, and I don't want to do that for this. And I thought, where's this going? Nothing came of it. Nothing. We did the scene. She blows fairy dust. I'm supposed to fall onto a furniture pad. She then was supposed to take a stick and make me crawl on my hands and knees. And then she's supposed to kick me, and they had me in a little, a thing for a pad. And then she was supposed to squat on me and cut my throat. But there was nothing was supposed to untowards, but she kind of made it into something it wasn't. And I don't know. I was just lying there when she's supposed to cut my throat with her undulating and carrying on. And I'm thinking, how do I get myself in these situations? I mean, what am I doing? What am I lying here on the ground? It's too hard to explain.
Okay. I have to be honest, Leslie, I'm a little lost with the whole story, but I think I need to watch American Horror Story to kind of catch the whole thing.
But here's the crazy part. That became literally a 2-second flash. I've had people say, you made that up. I said, I did not make that up. I did not make that up. Because it was right after, what's his name, Cuba Gooding Jr. was against the tree with her, which is another whole story.
Wow.
With
Sounds
her
like you guys...
with her pilgrim dress over her head. She gets around that one.
She's so talented though, isn't she?
She really is. She really and truly is. You know.
So listen, before we go, I was going to tell you, I went to the University of Virginia with a lot of people from Chattanooga, from Lookout Mountain.
Oh, I know.
Do you
Lookout
know
Mountain
people?
is world famous, and I'll tell you why Lookout Mountain is so famous. The man who invented Coca-Cola could not find anyone to bottle it. Atlanta claims Coca-Cola.
Right.
But it really and truly had cocaine in it. I mean, in the beginning, Coca-Cola. And he couldn't get it. This is a million years ago. There are 4 families on Lookout Mountain that own the rights to bottle Coca-Cola worldwide.
Really?
And they're very philanthropic. So that's what makes my hometown so beautiful. We have an $8 million aquarium. We have these, and you just think, where did all this money come from? Coca-Cola. That's where it came.
Have you heard of the Macaulay School?
Yes, of course.
So I went to college with all the Macaulay boys.
Macaulay and Baylor were the 2 schools there.
Yes, I went to school with Jack Macaulay and Alan Macaulay.
Oh my gosh! Well, there
Isn't that
you go.
funny?
I'm sure there's some Coca-Cola in that background.
Maybe they were really, really nice guys. Wait, somebody said Wait, who is the most interested in the, well, I'm going to let you go in a minute, although, I don't want you to put your pajamas on for quite a few hours, Leslie. So who's the most interesting celebrity? Oh, did I ask you that? The interesting celebrity question? I asked you that.
Probably that I've worked with over the years would be Lily Tomlin was the most interesting. She's just, you can't even explain Lily. She's just Lily.
Someone wanted to know what brings you joy these days.
I think probably what brings me the most joy is getting responses to these Instagram things where people will really, in that brief forum, that way in which they can respond, will say, I'm having a rough go. I'm having a rough go. I'm stuck here with my 3 kids and I love them, but my husband is out of and thank you. And I think, wow, that's and that's my job. I figured out that's my job. Not to go on there and say, wear your mask and don't do this and don't do, that's not my job. My job is just to say, well, what y'all do? And just tell them.
Yeah, and do you respond to the comments and talk to folks?
I try. It's gotten where I'm getting an average of 6,000. I used to read every single one, and I don't know how they stack them up. Like I don't know what comes back. From L.A. Law to The Practice to all of those. He was the first one that would write for me.
He's so talented. I've been working on a book, and I was going through some, old letters. And do you remember Richard Gebhardt? He was on L.A. Law. He played the older lawyer. Do you remember him? I think it was Richard Gebhardt. Did
he die?
He did. He passed away.
Like a few days ago, right?
No. A while ago. But he was on L.A. Law, and that used to be one of my favorite shows. I forgot you were on L.A. Law.
No, I wasn't on L.A. Law.
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about.
The Practice was the spinoff, and then right when, I can't remember if I did The Practice or not, but I did Boston Legal.
Yes.
That was the first time. He wrote me 5 episodes, and it was Betty White and myself. We had an affair.
I know. And I heard that story, and you had to go into the freezer.
Yes. And to pass the time, they had fake frozen food, and it said Freezer Queen, and they covered me in ice crystals, and I was so miserable, but I just held that right below my neck. Freezer Queen.
Everyone's saying Richard Gebhardt. I know Richard Gebhardt's a senator, y'all, but there is also from L.A. Law. I'm going to look him up because that's going to bug me. Here it is. It's Richard Dysart. Sorry, Richard Dysart. He played Leland McKenzie in L.A. Law, and he actually had me and my friend over for dinner when we were in Los Angeles after we graduated from college. We took a trip to California, and he was so nice. But yes, he passed away a while ago. He was 86 years old. So anyway, that's what I was thinking about, just if anybody was wondering. Fascinating, huh? Well, I'm so happy to meet you, and we're gonna put the highlights of this conversation, and I do this newsletter every morning called Wake Up Call, Leslie. So you have to subscribe to it, because we'll put some of the highlights from our conversation.
And leave out the naughty bits, so Mother will be so proud.
Oh yeah, you tell your mother and your sisters I said, hey, what are their names?
My mother is Peggy Ann. She named her twin daughters Jana Lynn and Janet Ann. So there was a Jana.
That's very confusing.
Well, Jana Lynn became Cricket really early on. And so there's Cricket and then Janet Ann. But they're just Mama and the twins. You know what I mean? They're just a unit. Mama and the twins. Mama and them.
Well, by the way, I think it's so, we're about the same age, and I think it's so wonderful that your parents were so supportive of you because, as we know, that wasn't necessarily the case when we were growing up. And when you look at all the changes that have come about for the LGBTQ community,
Right.
it must be absolutely mind blowing for you, considering what it was like for so many kids like you when our contemporaries.
Exactly. I told my mother I thought something was up. I didn't even know what it was when I was about 12. And, she didn't pull her Bible out, which I thought might happen. She sat very still. Her only form of reference would have been either Liberace or what's his name from the Center Square, Paul Lynn. I mean, that was it. That really was her. And I remember her saying, my fear is that you'll be subject to ridicule. And I couldn't bear that. So maybe live quietly.
But obviously, I mean, she was worried about you.
She was. And that was, having had lost my dad that year and everything. But she has been so supportive of me in everything. She'll get quiet, My mother's a lady. You know what I mean? My sisters are too. They're just ladies.
I feel like, would you ever write a book about your life? I think that with so many people who are now so, enjoying you, Leslie, I think it would be great for you to write a book about what it was like growing up.
I had a call yesterday, so it's in the works from
Really?
one of the big publishing houses. I can't say anything, but they said, look, just write. Just write. And I said, about what? They go, just write, just write. And I said, okay.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so happy for that everyone's discovered you and that all these wonderful things are happening for you, both in your career and now possibly writing a book, selling T-shirts for charity, having Ryan Murphy write a show for you. So it's so wonderful. And I'm so happy to meet you and to get a chance to talk to you.
Well, thank you. And I hope we meet in person when
I hope so
all
too.
of this calms down.
When do you think things were going to be kind of back to normal? Do you have any idea?
My theory on the whole thing has been when it very first started, and I'll wrap it up with this. I get so long-winded, but when it first started, I thought to myself, I've been through this before. As a gay man in the 1980s, I buried an entire phone directory. And this is, out of that came AIDS Project Los Angeles, came, Project Angel Food. We looked at one another, and without saying it, I remember all of us thinking, we got to take care of our own. We're not going to get a lot of help here. And so now that this is, and we came through it, kinder, we came through it more willing to help one another, and there was a strength and community. And I thought when this started, I thought, you know what? This doesn't have anything to do with whether you're gay, straight, black, white, Latin, whatever. But we're going to get through this as a community, and we're going to come through it kinder and more willing to help one another. And I think that's going to be the silver lining. Do
you think? I mean, I hope so. But then I sometimes worry that it's just exaggerating the political divisions in this country.
I know. And I think, though, that once we get through all this, maybe it won't be quite as divisive as it was, because we did get through this. And this is not something political, really. They politicized it, of course. But I don't watch a lot of news and TV and stuff. I can't, I turn it on. I think, oh, yeah. Let's go make beef stew.
It can be sort
Let's
of
take a back scratcher and turn it into a baton.
Yeah. By the way, I need that back scratcher that you were using as a baton. I need to get one of those.
I use it now to exercise. That's the one thing I'm not doing, is I've got to somehow. I used to treadmill and swim. The pool's closed. I don't feel good. You know what I mean? I don't feel bad, but I don't feel healthy and with it.
Well, you need to keep exercising, and that doesn't mean lying in bed watching yoga videos, Leslie. That means actually getting out of bed, and you need to stretch because you know we all start shrinking when we get older, so we need to keep stretching.
Thank you.
Anyway, well, listen, lots of love to you, and maybe we'll meet again in person one day.
I hope so. Where's your
Anyway.
daughter? Is she still sitting there?
No, I don't know where she went. Carrie? She's been cooking up a storm.
Good for her.
Yeah, but I've been eating up a storm and I need to stop. Anyway, but she loves you too. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And DM me and tell me how you're getting along.
Okay, I sure will. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Leslie. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.